Hello and hey, to mess around with Baldur's Gate 3. So, you want to play a rogue, you sneaky little scoundrel. Rogues are the quintessential class for sneakery, sleight of hand, and getting the drop on their foes. Hailing from the Midwest myself, I relate to them the most, as I've been known to sneak around you for the ranch from time to time. OP just stands for OP. Starting at first level, we gain several useful proficiencies and features, including but not limited to light armor, a small selection of martial weapons, thieves' tools, proficiency in 4 skills, and expertise in 2, and one of the defining features of the class, sneak attack. Once per turn, either when you have advantage or if a friendly is within 5 feet, around 1.5 meters, of your target, you can deal an extra 1d6 damage. This attack must use a finesse or ranged weapon. An additional d6 is given every further 2 levels of rogue. For whatever reason, people like to refer this as an exponential damage increase. I'm not usually the guy to push up my glasses and hit you with a, actually. However, a single class rogue might be the most linear scaling build in the entire game. The line is flatter than the state I live in and constantly increasing by the same exact increment at each interval. The power does come from being resourceless, so in infinite combat, they will never run out of sneak attacks. It is a consistently high damage attack, happening nearly every round, forever. At level 2, we get a singular thing, but it's quite powerful. We get Cunning Action, which allows us to dash, disengage, and presumably hide with our bonus action. These are normally actions allowing us to slip in and around the battlefield much more efficiently than other characters, leaving our important action slot open to get off a sneak attack or other emergency button action we need right at that very moment. Not something to underestimate. Upon reaching level 3, we get to choose just how edgy we'd like to be. The options offered in Baldur's Gate 3 are Thief, Assassin, or Arcane Trickster. This is also the junction that I need to point out that we are venturing into speculation territory. As while BG3 is based off of D&D 5e, we cannot confirm just yet how subclass features will be implemented into the video game. Thief and Arcane Trickster's third level features are in the game already, so we can speak confidently about those, but just to repeat, from here on out there is a margin of error and I'm just trying to keep it low. Picking back up subclasses with Thief, we gain an additional bonus action, which is wild. There are so many bonus actions in the game, with even more being granted by the Cunning Action feature we literally just got last level. So on top of all of the utility of those, if you dual wield, you can even use it to make an extra attack, making this the earliest consistent extra attack feature-ish in the game by a couple levels. Thief just stole my heart. Now, you can't add your ability modifier to the damage of the bonus action melee attack, but at least in early access, we could pick up a couple of hand crossbows and fire off 3 attacks at level 3, every turn if we wanted. Little caveat that might go away for full release, but we've seen nothing indicating that. So as far as martials at level 3 go, is that specific enough for you? Thief is going to be the highest sustained damage dealer, not just of rogue, but in the game. Following that up with the next subclass, we have Assassin, an extremely powerful subclass, but potentially a bit of a bait all at the same time. Their Assassinate feature gives us advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. This is a feature that will have clips of just ridiculous one-shots of the hardest fights in the game, leaving us all saying,
wow, what do you say after that one? Brutal, savage, wrecked, absolutely taken down.
But at the same time, on your very first playthrough, I think surprising enemies will come a lot less often than maybe can be justified to use this. Particularly if you're playing with a gung-ho group that's always running around getting themselves into sticky situations. If you are a meticulous solo player and you're going to be making it a point to trigger this feature every time you can, clearly not a bait. It's going to give you the upper hand in every combat encounter. You can pull it off and deserves all the praise it will be getting, as I'm sure it will be shouted as OP once people dip their already disgusting characters into 3 levels of rogue. And lastly, we have Arcane Trickster. For most people, I think it'll come down to how much would you like to interact with Mage Hand Ledger Domain. A feature limited mostly by your imagination and tabletop, I'm sure will have special intended scenarios for you to flex your brain and use in BG3. However, they need to be hard-coded, so it will have its noticeable limits. Even if you won't plan to touch Mage Hand, you do become a caster with access to enchantment and illusion spells, gaining spell slots at a third of the rate of a full caster. There are some notable early control spells like Sleep, Color Spray, or Tasha's Hideous Laughter that synergize really well with Sneak Attack, things that just incapacitate your enemies. Later, you'll have the option for Invisibility or Hold Person, though if you're just taking the spells for combat purposes, you'll likely want to do something else instead. The out-of-combat utility is where the Arcane Trickster really shines. Not that it's way worse than the other rogue subclasses in combat or anything ridiculous, just that it's a flavorful subclass that lets you combine spellcasting into your playstyle without it fully being your shtick. The reason to choose this subclass is because you like that aspect of it, not some insane mechanical advantage. And I think it does that best of these 3 and one of the better ones in the game. Still with me? Sheesh, okay. Level 4, and our first ability score improvement. In almost all cases, a flat recommendation to bump up dexterity is the way to go. Dexterity is an incredibly powerful near omni stat. It boosts your armor class, initiative, stealth, sleight of hand, acrobatics, your chance to hit, your damage, and your dexterity saving throw. So whether it started as a 17 or a 16, getting it to 18 is great. Planning ahead by putting it on 17 at character creation means you could also look for a half feat here, such as an example, moderately armored, to both get a dexterity 2 plus 4, while also gaining additional benefit of being able to use a shield. This is not a flat recommendation to do that, but just an option at level 4 you could consider and just respec out of later. Completely up to you. Another popular option will be to grab Sharpshooter, which you likely already know, gives the shot a -5 to hit at a benefit of +10 to its damage roll. A normal hand crossbow shot at this level is 1d6 plus 3 damage, which averages out to 6.5 damage per shot, not accounting for accuracy. And if we sharpshoot it, again, at the cost of accuracy, that jumps up to 1d6 plus 13, 16.5 average per shot. Shocking, I know, we did the thing, we added 10. That -5 is roughly a 25% reduction in chance to hit, not always, you get me. So unlike fighters and rangers that can pick up the archery fighting style to help mitigate that penalty, you want to be very sure that's something you're comfortable with. But remember, respecking exists. If you want to just try it, try it. At level 5, we get Uncanny Dodge, which is a reaction to have the damage from an attack, potentially being the difference in consciousness after standing next to someone you shouldn't have. Also, our sneak attack damage goes up to 3d6. At level 6, we gain expertise in 2 more skills, allowing us to even more consistently handle many of the party's out-of-combat troubles. An example being that even if we have a lowly 10 charisma, at this level we could have a +6 to persuasion and deception, provided we had skilled them at level 1 or from our background. Walking around as a rogue in this game with the inability to have different characters speak in conversations that others have started, that wasn't worded the best, but I think you follow me, you can tool your build in a way where the character handles everything, if you aren't interested in the typical face classes, for instance. We're up to level 7 already, and we get Evasion next, which allows us to take half damage when we make a dexterity saving throw, or none if we pass the check entirely. And our sneak attack also goes up to 4d6. Level 8 is our second ability score improvement. Jumping that dex to 20 or picking up Sharpshooter, etc. is always recommendable. If you have other plans for something specific that you would like to do, absolutely go for that. Make sure you're having fun with this thing. And I'll quickly blow through the rest. Level 9 will be a subclass feature that I cannot say for certain how they will be implemented, along with 5d6 sneak attack damage. Level 10, we get a third ability score increase. Definitely get that dex to 20. Level 11 is Reliable Talent, which you will make ability checks that you have proficiency in unable to be lower than 10 on the die, and you still get to add whatever your bonus is. So just for an example, if you're 20 dex with expertise in sleight of hand, that minimum roll is now 23. You can steal the glasses right off someone's face at will. Put them back on, take them back off. They'll never know. Also at level 11, Sneak Attack gets its last boost in BG3 up to 6d6. And we close out with level 12, getting that fourth ability score improvement, which you may be one of the only classes in the game that's going to boost a non-primary stat, potentially. And that's what the rogue gets if you stay single-classed. For those of you that are a bit more promiscuous, not afraid of a little mixer-mingler with some other classes, there's technically a bevy of options. Remember though, this is a rogue outline, so I will only include where rogue is at least half of the levels, meaning the extremely powerful Gloom Master, Battle Master, Assassin won't be showing up here, because that's only 3 levels of rogue, baby boy. First up, and maybe last up, Rogue 11, Fighter 1. In exchange for the 4th ASI, we are gaining the archery fighting style, proficiency with medium armor, shields, and second wind. The 1 level dip sounds a little underwhelming, but +2 to hit against our -5 from sharpshooter is pretty nice. Going majority fighter is more menacing, however, reaching for a level of fighter to offset the sharpshooter penalty while opening up medium armor boots and helmets, and getting a cheeky bump to our AC by cheesing a shield, can't be discounted. And I don't think I want to recommend any more majority rogue multi-classes. Rogue is a front-loaded class on features, so I think it plays really nice when you're trying to take levels of it to augment other classes. And as such, I think you can take a few levels in almost any class to trade for the last couple of rogue levels. But I don't know if there's anything particularly interesting in the context of BG3. That's more customizing to your taste. You can jump into a number of classes for Hex or Hunter's Mark, something that will give you extra dice when you hit, or grab certain spells or proficiencies with the last levels, even wild shaped into creatures to sneak around with. But to full on take a majority of rogue levels, we start to see their linear scaling. And most of the time, we're willing to hand back a couple sneak attack D6s to get major features elsewhere. So if you're interested in multiclassing, the bar becomes much higher inherently. The only exception I will throw in for myself is an arcane trickster mixed with a full caster, depending on how they handle the revised resource uses. Could bring some super interesting combinations to rogue, but as I don't know and cautioned against earlier, pure speculation. So how would I level a rogue? Why, thank you for asking. I'm a basic boy, so I'm just going to give the job to Asterion. I want him to sneak and pick locks, and that's all he has to do for me at first. We have plans to blow up the Death Star, so sticking Rogue 1, Rogue level 2, Rogue level 3. I'll grab Thief and hopefully a couple of hand crossbows. At level 4, probably take Sharpshooter because bigger number equals better man. Level 5, you can start making the case to full respec to Ranger or Fighter, and then transition to the aforementioned Gloomstalker, Battlemaster, Assassin, Annihilator. I hardly know her. But for us, I think this is where we fighter dip. Just the one level, get the archery fighting style, keep blasting those hand crossbow shots. Which might be boring if it's your main character. Just feel like people might have a great lust for versatility on like their character. But with me having as many as 3 casting classes in my lineup, potentially, I really want to have a smooth, don't think about it too much option, just pumping out good damage. That's where I'm coming from. Level 6, we get Uncanny Dodge and another D6 on sneak attack. Level 7, either more expertise or maybe Fighter 2 for action surge, just depending on how much I value skill checks by then. And level 8, I think we can start considering flipping a multi-class. If you want to keep going rogue, all you, it's good. I would consider Fighter 5, Rogue 3. We delay the ASI, which we desperately want, but can get an extra attack, and Battle Master might consider champion, which is weird, but because maneuvers are actions, who knows? All the while still keeping our rogue goodness. We get 4 attacks if we want them with Thief, maybe even 2 sneak attacks if positioning works out, but our chance to hit might be really rough. Just have to see what kind of ACs we are running up against at that level. The last 4 levels, everything really starts to open up. Level 9, I guess we'll go Fighter for a slightly better hit die. Either level was an ASI, so it didn't really matter. Level 10, we'll go Rogue for that ASI, finally push our dex to 20. This is also the point where you could transition to the Ranger, Fighter, Rogue, 5, 2, 3 respectively. Sorry, I keep mentioning that build, I just assume it's going to be very popular. Level 11, jump up to Rogue 5, Uncanny Dodge, and regain that D6 we gave up a few levels ago. Then, at the max level of 12, we can reconfigure for Fighter 8, Rogue 4 if we want the ASI, or that build. You know, the one I just keep mentioning. And that's how I'd do it. If you wanted to make a more interesting character and you're going to be playing with a bunch of marshals, an Arcane Trickster would be a blast, but it's not what fits what I'm trying to do. So to begin the conclusion, Rogue has 3 solid subclass options. The class itself is both straightforward and powerful enough to stand alone or dip in with other martial classes through multiclassing. Their expertise and skill proficiencies can fill out some of your out-of-combat needs. It's just always good to have a rogue around, and I think I've locked one into my party just talking about it. So I hope to catch you in the next one. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be safe, guys.